Welcome to Bonafide Confessions, where truth meets transformation. I'm your host, Lakiva, and tonight we're going to really deep dive into a real good conversation that touches every soul. Normally, I come on and I'll say this and I'll say that, and we'll do the word of the day or the holiday that we're currently celebrating, but that's not the mode on tonight. We're going to talk about healing. Healing isn't just about moving on, it's about moving through. Did y'all catch that? It's not about just moving on, it's about moving through. It's a process of facing our pain, embracing our truth, and reclaiming the parts of ourselves that we thought we lost. Whether it's a new pain or it's buried beneath years of silence, this is going to be a safe space for us to discuss that tonight. So we get ready to start talking about healing. Not just a polished version where I just give you this fancy definition and everybody just goes to the dictionary and be like, oh, healing means this and healing. No, we're not doing that tonight. We're going to actually speak real, raw, and kind. And I want everybody that's here tonight to be you, speak from your heart, and let's begin. So, again, my name is Lakiva Blakeney Wogu. I'm your host, and I'm getting ready to actually introduce my panel. And actually, no, I'm not. They're going to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Vonda. Vonda, go ahead and tell everybody in Facebook world who you are.
Hi, my name is Lavonda, most commonly known as Vonda. I am an HR professional. That is my profession. But I'm also an author of a book called Journey of a Teardrop, and it's poetic expressions of life and survival and healing.
All right. Next on the platform is Shiva. Go ahead and tell everybody in the land who you are.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to join the panel today. So, I'm Elisha Ray, also known as Shiva, Ray of Light, and I am a feminine awakening and emotional well being guide, supporting women to really come back home to themselves.
All right. And if you don't mind, just elaborating a little bit more on your business, if you don't mind.
Sure. So when it comes to feminine awakening, and so much of what we know is about like women, our journey. I have it that we're already powerful. We're divine. We have so much divine energy, and so what I do is really support women to connect with their hearts, like their deepest heart's desires, to connect with their body, their sensuality, their joy, and more importantly, to really I think just really start to listen, support women to start to listen and trust that divine, I call it divine feminine intelligence. So they can have more power and freedom and self expression inside of being like their most authentic version of who they are.
And next is someone who is very dear to my heart, the mother among mothers. To almost everybody on this planet, except for Vanja. We're talking about Miss Yolanda Ray. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Momager.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yolanda Ray, and I am a certified executive personal coach. And transitioning from corporate America almost 30 years, coaching, teaching, and developing, um, just going into my own business because I knew what my niche was, and I realized what my passion was around coaching and leadership. And so what I did was put it together. And I was in a class one day, and when I was getting my certification, I was talking to my one of my instructors, and I said, you know what? I really don't want to be in the. I want to be thought of an executive coach going into corporate America. That's not my thing. That's not my deal. That's not my jam, as they say, right? I want I want women to be leaders and CEOs of their own lives. And she said, well, why can't you be an executive life coach? I was like, oh, okay.
Yes, right.
So my goal is to help women. I say women primarily because that's my primary niche. Um, to just think through those challenges and obstacles that keeps them from living their best life and being the best version of themselves.
All right. Awesome, 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 awesome. I don't like to say the expression last but not least. No, this person has been in my life for years. And awesome when I say teacher, preacher, all that roll up into one. And now a new journey, a mommy, a wife. It's just so much. But I'm going to let Miss Truth introduce herself. Go ahead, Truth.
Hello, ladies. How's everybody doing? And I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you, Lakiva, just for giving me the opportunity to come speak on the panel. I never take it lightly when anyone asks me to be a part of something. It just really makes me feel um, more connected, and it lets me know that I truly have even more purpose to serve on this earth. So, thank you so much for the opportunity. But I am actually the executive director of findingyousis.org, which is a brand new sister circle that was actually founded March 8th of this year. And it's so funny, full circle, how it came around. I was a part of a sister circle before that was actually started by our very own Miss Yolanda some years ago. And I just had a passion once I moved to Dallas. The Lord had put it in my spirit to start my own sister circle. So I'm just kind of carrying that torch, I would say. This is not anything that I thought of myself. It was literally something I was a seed that was planted inside of me, and I just took it and I just continued to water it as I moved along in my journey of healing, actually. And what we do is we do have women that come together on a monthly. We have virtual sessions. We travel together. We host challenges. We check in weekly with each other, daily, even on some of our wellness channel challenge moments. And it's just a safe space for women to come together and really be able to impact each other through healing,
Mhm.
just all around wellness and connection. I truly believe that when you connect with other women, iron sharpens iron. And
Yes.
I just truly believe that always. And there was a time where I was a part of the sister circle that it helped to reshape me and help me to become the woman that I am today. And I wanted to continue creating a space for other women to be able to continue on their journey of whether it's healing, connection, just really finding who they are. And we truly believe that not only does iron sharpen iron, but sisterhood is powerful. And our
Yes.
slogan is discovering the essence of you through the transformative power of connection. Sisters, just simply inspiring sisters. That's what it's all about. So, again, thank you so much for being allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Oh, not a problem. And everybody on every guest speaker, friend, family, or whoever, go ahead and share the show because we're going to deep dive into some really good stuff. I mean, and even leading up to the show, I was so confident that things wasn't going to happen, but things happen. And we learn and heal from things that happen. So I'm excited. Even starting out earlier today, I went to my home church and they were talking about healing. So I was like, okay, this is why this doesn't want to be addressed. Because one thing about me, I'm going to start a process and I'm going to finish it. I promise y'all show. People been asking me to do it for months. We're going to have a show and we're going to continue. Again, please feel free to share this, tag everybody because we get ready to get started. Now we're going to get started. The first question I have, and I do have an agenda, and everybody that does this show with me know I can have a whole mountain of subtopics, but we're going to flow. We're going to have real conversation. If we get stuck in one place, it's okay because we can always have a part two. So my first question, and I'm going to actually start, if they don't mind, with Sheba because I just love her energy. I just love how she actually puts emphasis on it. My question, first of all, will be, and she dropped, but guess what? We're going to continue. We'll start with truth then. Okay, truth. If I ask the question, what does healing look like? And anybody can chime in. Vonda, you could chime in. Yolanda, what does healing look like to you all?
That's a great question, and healing for me is that's really big. It's a big, I want to say, there's so many different things I guess I can say about healing and what healing looks like for me. But healing for me and what I'm going through even now is just self care and awareness. Um, a lot of times people don't even know that they're going through a healing process or may need a healing process to start within themselves because they're used to being in, going through the same motions. And a lot of times we get comfortable in our mess or even a toxic relationship that we don't even know
Mhm.
that we need to be healed or transformed. I can speak really deeply about some of the situations that I've went through where I had lost myself in relationships and I needed to go through a healing process. So for me, healing was literally getting away and moving away from everything that I was used to and really being uncomfortable. That's really what healing was for me, being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And in through that moment of being uncomfortable, I was able to really heal because now I was able to clearly be able to connect with the right people who were able to uplift me and get me to that next place. So really in a whole healing there's a lot that I can really say about it, but it's just self-awareness.
Self awareness.
Mhm.
So, with that self awareness, do you believe that acknowledging your emotional wounds help lead towards that actual process of healing? Is it almost like a grieving process, do you think?
It was a total grievance process. And I remember the person who I felt at the time put me in that state of grievance. They kind of pushed me and said, "Hey, you need to tell your story. Don't worry about me. I know this is a part of our chapter in life of what we went through, but tell your story." And when I received the okay to really tell my story, that's really when the healing process started. Because at first I was so worried about what is this person going to think. I didn't really want them to be under the light when I shared my story of healing. I
Mhm.
didn't want anyone else around that was connected to really know that I was talking about them per se. But I realized that I really couldn't focus on everybody else. When you're going through this healing process, it's all about you in that moment. And for me, I needed to tell it so that possibly through my story, and my healing process, someone else would actually be able to get healed and set free as well. But when we don't recognize and acknowledge that we need to be healed and embrace the healing process, then it's easy to kind of stay in that bubble. And it's almost like you feel like you're that pressure once continues to build up and it really wants to burst out. But I just wasn't allowing myself to at that moment until I really realized I got the clearance from him
Mm.
and he said, "Hey, tell your
Tell your
story."
story.
And that's when I started saying, okay, let me write the music. Let me create a safe space for other women to be able to do the same thing, tell their story.
That's good. Alicia, can you elaborate on that a little bit for me?
Yes, I will. Wow. First off, truth, I just acknowledge just that level of like responsibility and accountability, like just to, you know, well, that self-awareness. I think like the first thing that comes to my mind is it's healing. We know as women and then as Black women, especially, there's this narrative of like, I gotta stay strong. I gotta keep going hard. And
Mhm.
it's like if I'm suffering, right? Like my suffering, like this self-sacrificing, like sacrificial lamb. And I do think part of it is our gift, right? It's our gift to be able to just nurture. But what I've been sitting with a lot lately, it's like healing the narrative that like my value comes through overgiving and serving and putting everyone else needs before my own. And it's still a process, right? And so with
Right.
that, something that has and continues to be a big part of my journey and my healing journey is pausing long enough and listening to that inner voice, even if something feels like if I feel tense or uncomfortable, or if there's like a perpetual thing that I see myself dealing with in my life. Before I had this, not like I just need to
Let
be
me
more
have your ball.
positive.
Let me have the ball.
I need to be more positive. I need to be more understanding, and now while I always say like I'm sweet as pie and I love this version of me, but I'm not, I'm more willing to just pause and say like, okay, sure, I can be more positive, and right now, like, I'm hurting, I'm aching. And one thing, last thing I'll say is, I often, like, whenever I'm teaching workshops and classes, I'll say, there's a part of us that's like a baby. It's like a crying baby. And if you were to look at your inner child, or the part of you that needs to be healed, like this crying baby, if you have this crying baby, and let's say you have company, you actually still, you pick up that crying baby with your company being there, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can find out what the baby needs. It doesn't matter, like, if you're at work, if you're at the gas station, like, it doesn't matter where you are, like, you have this attention to the crying baby. And so I relate to these, like, inner parts, like the whether it be a tender part or inner child, like the crying baby. And so I've learned to just, like, pause and say, oh, sweetheart, what do you need right now? Maybe you need to pause, breathe, not take that phone call, not wear that you might have loved it yesterday, but today it makes you uncomfortable. So I think for
Hmm.
me, a big part of the healing is even just being able to, one, heal the narrative of, like, my value comes through over performing and giving and giving. And, like, as long as you're good and I'm suffering, then, like, woohoo, that's the first part. And then also being stopping long enough and just being willing to pause and ask myself, like, what do I need right now? Feeling what the tension, the discomfort, and what do I need, and what can I, and with that, like, how can I take a step, even just one step, to feel better, even just a little bit.
So if I'm hearing you say what I think you're saying, the healing can be at different levels on a different part of a timeline for you to get to what you're supposed to learn through that healing process. Is that what you're implying? Or can you elaborate just a little bit more for me? Or anybody can
So
jump
I'm
in.
speaking, I'll just say it's real quick. I'm speaking to, like, at the very, like, fundamental, the basics. Like, let's say, even if you have, all of us, right? We might have a perpetual ache. It's just like a little ache. No, it's no biggie. And then year one and year two and year three passed, right? And then now you've got an issue. You got to get
Hmm.
surgery or go to the doctor, or, call your
Mhm.
therapist and collapse, And so I'm just talking about at the basic level. It's like, when I feel that ache, rather than saying, oh, let me just keep going. Oh, there's an ache. Let me just pause and tune in and give my body what it needs. That's in the physical. But, like, when it comes to emotional and psychological, I think for me, in my experience, that's been the most baseline of healing. It's like, I have an ache. Let me turn to it. Let me see myself as valuable enough, precious enough, like, to pause and tend to this ache, to
Mhm.
that crying baby. Does that make
Lakiza,
sense?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump in, but I heard several things. Um, for me, healing is and has been just kind of the process of regaining the power of me. And so it kind of
Mm.
touches on what Truth said and what Shiva said as well. It's like it is a process, but regaining the power, even if you do have that ache, sometimes I get migraines or headaches. Sometimes for me, the pause moment is just to kind of, I'm breathing, or I'm laying down, and just kind of talking myself back into my own power. And so, regardless of what you're healing from, whether it be from a toxic relationship or, a job loss, something that really kind of was traumatic for you, I think the healing process should be to, yes, pause, take a moment, but kind of just regain that power to be who you are. I speak that from myself because, that's my journey. That's, purpose of the book. That's why these things came about, was just trying to regain who I am. And then giving myself permission to continue to be that person and even go a little further and be a better version of who I used to be. So, all good things that they said, but I definitely agree with it being a process. But I think it has a lot to do with kind of that inner power of just regaining who you are.
I'm not actually Yolanda this. First, don't we have to recognize when there's a need for a healing to take place?
Yeah, wow, you hit it right on the head, because right on the head, because from a coaching perspective, that would be the first thing. And even engaging with a client, right? I'm going to make sure that I understand where they're coming from. For example, if you say, there's an agreement. So what are you here for? Why do you want to engage with me, right? And I need to heal. That's pretty broad, right? So
Mm-hmm.
talk to me about what healing looks like for you. What do you need to heal from? And so all the ladies said, all the words, those buzzwords, that you got to be aware. You got to sit inside the moments, right? You got to be quiet sometimes in order to be able to answer those questions. You got to sit still.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to heal from? What's hurting me? And being okay with feeling it, and not afraid, because courage is the ability to go through the fear, right? It's not that
Right.
you're going to be afraid. Sometimes the hardest part is just facing it and being vulnerable to self and say, you know what, I need help. I've got a dear friend who, powerful leader, powerful, she just like, listen, I need a mental health break. And she did everything. You don't think people need healing. You see people with these glamorous jobs and they got,
Mm-hmm.
I did everything that's going on. And she called me and she said, sister, I need a mental health break. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I said, girl, you don't know how proud I am of you. Because until you are aware, and unfortunately, some of us, listen, that intuition you have there, that alignment with the divine intelligence, it's not an accident. It's there
Right.
for us to feel something is going on. This body, it's not an accident. We got all
Right.
kind of intuitive things going on with us, but we go, 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 go until you just don't. Sometimes the universe will slap you down and say, oh, you gonna listen, right? But usually when that happens, you so far gone. You really need help now. So that awareness that Truth spoke about, that Alicia Vaughn spoke out, that Yvonne spoke out, awareness, being in the moment, so you will know, so you can listen, so you can feel, and then you can ask yourself why and how. Why am I feeling this way? And how do
Yes.
I get to feel better? How do I get back to that agency that Vonda talked about, that power within me? Not to say, it's the hurt and the pain. It's going to be there. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, our experiences, we're the sum total of it, right? But you get a chance to rewrite the narrative.
That's right.
You get a chance to rewrite your own book and say, this is my journey. Yeah, I went through it, sum total of who I am.
Yeah.
So I think is that most important than anything else, that awareness. Listen to what your body is telling you. Listen to
Mm.
what you're feeling.
Yeah,
Be
that's
in
right.
touch with your emotions. Emotions are made to be expressed, not to be
Right.
bottled up, right? We just need to learn how to express them, when to express them, and to make sure you're not hurting yourself, hurting anybody else, or
Right.
hurting your environment. So it's that awareness, I would say, is the key, because if you're not aware, you're going to keep going until you just crack.
Right.
And sometimes that crack is not
Mhm.
beautiful.
That's good. That's a good way of actually even speaking of it, because what's coming to my mind is this whole, it is a process because you're going to rebuilding resilience and
Mhm.
your self-worth. And
Absolutely.
then you're shifting from victim identity to healing identity.
Hmm.
Then you focus on strength and then your dignity. So
Hmm.
all of that in a nutshell starts to come together. And that is even just the tip of the iceberg of what healing is. We haven't even touched into to the root. Y'all know with Still I Rise, I'm big on getting to the root of that pain, the root of why do I feel like that? And even identifying where we are in the healing process. Because a lot of times I know I've done it myself where, you know, we'll deflect and say, well, no, it's not really like that. It's not even that. Deflection is almost like Kool-Aid and sugar. It's like so sweet because are we really ready to get healed? when we deflect. That's, are we really ready to say, okay, I'm tired? Or do we go back into our shells and try to hide? And, you know,
It
when
takes
you're burying somebody, they put you in a casket. The casket is just the cover to for that person that's, if you have a regular funeral or whatever. But then even that cover is not going to protect that person who's going in the ground. It's a whole deep process. You got so much dirt. It's like 6 feet of dirt. And even they have to pack it down. You have to be an expert to, because you want to bury, if it's dead, I don't want to be able to go back up in there and pull it back up. Dog, I just thought about that. That is a part of healing. Actually burying it, keeping it down there. You see how that just worked out,
yeah,
even with that example.
yeah.
It's like we got to, when something is really, when we're truly healed from it, we shouldn't try to go in there and just pick that stuff or go and dig up that stuff if we're really ready and truly healed from it. Anybody else got anything to elaborate on that?
I
Yes,
would
I
say
actually wanted to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
healing also is getting to a place of acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
That's
good.
all I want to say. You're at a place of
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah.
That's
Because
good.
once you get to that place of acceptance, then you can definitely move forward.
Hmm.
But it's scary. Acceptance is, I think it's okay to say, I'm hurting, but do we really? But I think sometimes when we process things and accept that there is hurt, we get a little shame and maybe even think that we're bad people.
Shame, guilt, that's all. Those are those egotistical things that keeps us from moving forward, right? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have to be in that place of awareness to say, I need help.
Hmm.
I know I need help. I need to heal. I
Mm-hmm.
need to heal. And it takes courage. It takes
Yeah.
an inordinate amount of courage to admit that you in pain and that I need help. Because a lot of times you can't do it by yourself a whole lot of times, right? You have to have somebody in your inner sanctum or a professional that you can go to and say, I'm hurting, a safe space, and be vulnerable. How hard it is for us to be vulnerable. We think somebody gonna think this of me if I don't show up this way, right? Those are the things that we tend to come out first. What are they gonna think of me? Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
What are they gonna think?
Exactly.
I'm supposed to be this strong, efficient, powerful woman. I don't need any help. I don't need anybody. So it takes a tremendous amount of courage to
So
heal.
we have to create a space of to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
be truth and be really truthful to ourselves and say, hey, this is a place. I always wondered why, and not just for me, but a lot of people I know, it's like when we say the truth hurts,
Mm.
it only hurts because it's really there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It really hurts because it's a wound that's there.
Yeah.
And those band-aids are only band-aids. It has not been healed. And this is so good. This is so good. And when people sometimes pick those things out in us, not just because they want to be mean to us, maybe that's something they've gone through and they're trying to help you, but we get so defensive. And I think because we have not gotten to that place where we really, not going to say don't want to be healed, but we're ashamed to say that we're in a hurting place. Would
That's it.
y'all tend to agree with that?
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it. That's it. I
Yeah.
know for a long time, for me, I'll be transparent. I'll give you a transparent moment today. It's nothing but God that I'm on the podcast because I did go through kind of a grieving today, and it comes in spurts because that's a part of the process until everything is completely whole and healed. And I didn't want to get up this morning. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And what Yolanda said was pivotal, and that's another thing that I think is a process of healing is community, because had it not been for my community and connecting with them today, I wouldn't have been able to get up and go to the Friendsgiving that I went to or be on the podcast. But again, it was me taking the time and realizing, let me take a time to go through this process today, regain my power, and literally talking myself through
Mhm.
my beginning point. Where did I start? Why did I start here? Why am I feeling this way? How can I overcome it? Talk myself through it, and then eventually get to the point that I am today. So that's really good. I think community is also a big part of healing. I'm not
Yeah.
saying let everybody into your business, but there are going to be those people that are trusted confidants that you need in your life. I oftentimes think about people who say, "Oh, I don't need anybody," and that's just not true. That's just not
Right.
true.
Right.
It's
Right.
necessary. It's necessary.
That's a
Um,
defense mechanism.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, that community, and then actually gathering yourself to be able to make it through the next hour or the next day is also a part of of the healing process. It's just like
Mhm.
having a physical wound. It has to go through
Mm-hmm.
different stages. The covering has to come over. It has to ooze out whatever is not supposed to be in there. That scab
Mhm.
forms as a protection, and then your skin or whatever it is starts to heal.
Your amazing body.
Yeah.
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 I agree with Vonda, you 100%. And I want to kind of tag in on some of the things that also Yolanda mentioned about courage and self awareness and just being vulnerable. But also, when you talk about community, when I set up my sister circle, that was big community for women to be able to come, safe space for them to heal, but also not just for them, but also for myself as well.
Mm.
And I truly believe in community. And what came to mind when you were speaking, I said, I literally heard peeling off the layers. When
Mm.
you hear someone else's story and you hear them peeling off the layers of the things that maybe they've went through in their past or what they're currently going through, you start to inspire someone else even within that community, and you
Yeah.
start seeing now everybody feels that same courage. Now they want to tell their story too. And a lot of times when you don't have that community or that safe space to be able to tell someone about your story, um, people kind of just walk around hurt and in pain. And then when they see other people peeling off those layers of their pain and maybe going through their process of healing, it's inspirational. So now it's like, oh, this person had the courage to tell theirs. Now I want to tell mine too. It almost makes you, it gets you into that mode of now I'm happy, I'm energetic. I know that I'm not walking this road and this going along with this process by myself. And
Right.
for me, that's what it has done. But a lot of times when you feel that you have to walk around and carry that load by yourself, it's easy to kind of go back and revert and say, okay, well, I guess I'll just kind of deal with it and cover it up. But like you said, even the strongest people, we need each other. We need somebody too. When I'm
Mm-hmm.
at my job, I'm the leader. I'm a lead person. I have a team of people that I have to lead. So they assume that I'm supposed to always be the strong person,
Always be together.
always
Always have
stay
it together.
together, always have it together, always have the answer.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, there's times that I have to sit before my therapist and sit before my life coach and say, hey, I need a little guidance.
Mhm.
Right.
I
Right.
need some guidance. I want to make sure that I'm whole and complete. So that way I'm able to go out and reach other people. I can't reach anybody else if I'm not even reaching myself.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And one thing too, even though we tend sometimes to deflect, we also have to learn how to embrace new perspectives on things and
Mm.
be open to really acknowledge, hey, I'm not saying you're not justified for feeling the way you feel about this situation, but can we look at it from a different angle?
Mhm.
I think a lot of times we don't do that. It's like we expect, like, it may have worked for Lakiva, the way I heal, but it may have not worked that way for Truth. But it's almost like the new math, or the way they're doing math now. We always know 1 + 1 = 2, but now they could do something different. But long as they still get to that 2 in that place of healing, it may just look differently. But again, that person has got to be willing, and we can't get mad if they're not ready. when that person is truly ready, we can't just say,
Process.
okay, it only took me a year to get over that.
Yep.
So what's taking you so long?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then the thing that they're thinking they're stuck at, or it may not even really be the real main issue that's keeping them at that point of their healing journey. It may be something totally different that they didn't even acknowledge. And it's almost like years of buildup. It's almost like when you go to the dentist and you haven't been in a while, and they say, they ask you. Now, what they look at your teeth, they know you don't probably floss every day, right? But they still gonna ask you. And we're gonna say, yeah, I do it. Or do you use an electric toothbrush? But and then when they say those words, either we need to do a deep clean or you have a cavity. It's either or. So it's that deep clean to me, that actually represents life to me. Okay, it's almost like I'm going to get you to that place where I'm going to get all that stuff that's around your teeth. I'm going to clean. It's going to bleed. It's going to hurt a little bit because we got to pick it apart. It's going to hurt. You're going to even have a little bit of pain from the process. But eventually, if you keep going through the process, you shouldn't even have any more problems with that. All that mess in your mouth coming back. But we also have to put in the work to sustain that healing.
Yeah. The maintenance.
The maintenance,
Okay.
that's the word.
How do you
That's the word.
maintain? How do you maintain? And how do you always be aware of how do I get my needs met? It's important for you to understand. I need to get my needs met. I need to
And
get my needs met. And
I'm
what does
sorry.
that look like for me?
Right, right. It takes me back almost to we also have to watch, like just I think Vonda said it the best. We actually have to watch who we are talking to, who we're surrounding ourselves with, because it's almost like strawberries, right? You could buy a big thing of strawberries and you have one in there that's bad or got mold, and you leave that all that mold and you leave that one strawberry in there, what's going to happen? That
Kind of disrupt the
they all going to go bad.
Go back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then we have to look at changing our environment. It's okay to say, this ain't working for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is not working. And you know what? I know for me, I used to, and I tell everybody know I'm almost a half 100. I'm excited to say I'm almost 50. But it took me almost 50 years to realize that everybody that is attached to me does not mean they're going to be my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually even confirmed with me today. Some people are just sent to us just for a temporary assignment to help us push us through a part of our healing. But I wanted them to be more than that. And it was like, get what you need and keep it moving. And then when they stop calling, when they stop texting, and you like, why they stop doing that? And then you pour your all into them. That wasn't for them to do for you at that moment. We try to make that happen. We try to no, they were called to do what they were supposed to do for your journey in that moment. It's called seasonal and recognizing what that person means to you and why they're there in your life. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times we try to bring people along in our healing journey, and it's not for them to be attached in that moment. Like you said, it's seasonal. And I've done it so many times. And I realized that, everybody is not ready to be healed. I may, like when I was going through my healing process, I felt like there was other people I could see that they needed it too. And so when I started going through therapy and having a life coach in my life, and I was getting back to myself and becoming vibrant again. And I looked at people, I'm like, hey, this is what you should do, but they may not be ready. And I had to realize that in some instances, while I'm continuing to grow, if they're ready, they'll be ready when they are ready. Like I cannot make somebody be ready for their next journey.
or never, or they may never
Oh
be
yeah.
ready.
Right.
Because see, what we have a tendency to do is project onto others what we need them to be in our lives. And
Yes.
they just
Mm-hmm.
don't have the capacity.
Mm-hmm.
They're not designed that way. They're not set up that way. And
Yeah.
it's up to you to realize at some point, okay, I need to let this go because this ain't working
Yeah.
for me, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People
So
just don't
it's
have the
called
capacity.
boundaries.
Yeah, don't get upset with them. Don't get upset and mad at
Right.
yourself, right? Because you're the one who didn't realize that
That's
this is
right.
not the person who is going. This person was here to your point. Sees is seasonal. Some people
Mm-hmm.
are seasonal, or there's some people who are in your lives forever. Family
Yeah.
who you wish they could be this person for you, and they simply are not.
Not.
Right? They
Mm-hmm.
don't have the capacity. So
Yes.
stop giving it to them.
Yeah.
And stop trying meet that, understand who that person is, meet them where they are, accept them for who they are, and
Yep.
love them for who they are. Don't try to project them onto what you need. This is what I need from you, right? And they keep showing you over and over and over again, I'm not that
Yeah.
person. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that person, but we continually do it.
Right. It's so funny because it's like I can laugh about it now. You know, it's almost like when you take some like a child who has never been in the daycare or even like preschool, and all those on the first day, all those babies start crying, and they're going to gather around and start crying. But and then a couple weeks later, if you keep continuing and they keep on crying, you're like, okay, what has changed? But we have to actually let go of that and say, okay, you know what? Take off the pull up, or even like with potty training. Okay, you don't need that pull up anymore. Let's go get on that, and this is literally put our big girl panties on. Okay, I needed you for that part. So now let me go advance to put on my big girl drawers, and I don't need you no more. And then, the hardest thing for me when I had to realize I got a 21-year-old daughter now. She don't need me to say, okay, you need to wear that color or that color. I can make suggestions, but guess what? She has her own mind now. She has her own way she's going to have to heal. I can just plant the seed, but I can't even, it's just so profound, even with my own personal healing. I can see, yeah, she has half of me in her, right? And I can see, and I was like, is healing really, can it be passed down through the DNA? I always wondered that. I was like, okay, I do believe in generational curses, don't get me wrong, but there's so much that we can control. But when I identified it, some of the stuff that I had to identify her when she was little, I had to say, okay, this is how mommy did. And I remember one time, and I almost wanted to backhand her. That only the couple times I had to really want to hit Genesis. But she's like, mommy, I heard you. Just because I'm doing it this way doesn't make it wrong.
Mhm.
And I
Because
had to
you
walk. I couldn't even get mad, y'all. I couldn't even do that mama thing on her. Because I was like, you know what? She's absolutely right. Okay, you telling me off. I'm gonna give you that pass because you were actually correct in doing it. It wasn't disrespectful, but
Yeah.
she was absolutely right. And
because we
so, you know what? We're gonna go. I'm gonna change, y'all. Know I told y'all I'll change the agenda in a minute. How do we break those cycles? How do we move forward to those things to get that healing?
But
I think we've been talking about it.
yeah.
The same thing we're talking about now, right? Because one adage that I love is that you may not be responsible for what happened to you. Um, no, it goes this way. It may not be your fault for what happened,
Mm,
but it's your responsibility to heal.
That's
that's
right.
good.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
good.
One of my favorite
That's really
words,
good.
right? It may not be because we can't. It happened, right? Whatever happened, all of our experiences, acknowledgement. How do we do it? We're talking about it now. This is how you do it. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, I think everyone has said it. Yeah, that first thing is awareness, and then
Hmm.
courage, the courage to feel, the courage to not be ashamed, the courage
Yeah.
to not to carry guilt, the courage to not feel like, who what people are going to think of me,
Mm.
right? how do I get my needs met in all of this? That's what you got to just be bold and like, listen, I need to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
How do I get my needs met in all of this, right? And that's part of your healing journey. You got to be able, you got to be bold with it. You got to have courage with yourself. You got to be kind to yourself.
Yes,
I think
yes.
I also hear a theme of like trust.
Yeah.
Just like Lakiva, she gave the example of her daughter. I mean, Lakiva had to trust herself that she has done what she needed to do with
Yes.
this baby that we all have, and that this baby can now walk on their own. I know for me, it was definitely building up a level of trust for myself. Even today, it was like, do I trust myself to regain my
Mm,
power and to get back up again and dust myself off? And I was able to do that because it gets through the process, it gets easier. It
yeah.
gets easier. And a lot of that comes through learning. I mean,
Yeah.
I always say that if you stop learning, you stop growing. And so trusting yourself enough to know that I need to go forward, I need to move forward, I need to grow, I need to continue to grow. That's a big part of it. You have to learn how to trust yourself again.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Mhm.
And the whole thing is I look at it as growth. That's all healing is, saying I'm evolving.
Mm,
I'm going through a metamorphosis. I'm
Mhm.
changing. I'm
Yep.
changing for better. This was a part of my journey. And is it really for us, or is it really to help others? And not necessarily that pain that we experience, their pain may be something totally different, but they can relate. And if you're going to be a part of what we say my circle or anybody's circle, are we bringing in those rotten strawberries, or are we bringing in those good strawberries, cleaning them up? I remember my grandmother used to tell me, "Okay, just cut off the bad." She said, "Just cut off the bad, and you could still eat it. Take the good parts." And Yolanda, you might know the saying. It says, "Eat the meat and spit out the bones," or something like that.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Eat the fruit and
I'm
spit out the
country,
seeds.
okay?
I've
I'm
heard that.
country.
I've heard
Eat the
that.
I
I've
fruit.
heard
heard
it.
it.
Eat
I
the
grew
fruit
up
out
in
the
a
dust.
well, I grew up in small town. I haven't heard of that one, but something similar,
Right.
maybe something similar.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Eat
just
the
one of
meat,
those
spit out the
things.
fat.
Is we got to really recognize what we need in our life.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are
Work
attracted to
through.
those same people who went through that same thing, but if they're not helping and aiding you to grow, they're going to keep you there. And so that's not any good either. And so I'm just excited because I heard a conversation. Somebody was talking to me earlier today, and they were talking to someone about pain from the past, right? And it's okay to talk about those memories. But that person said they told that person, okay, you say you're tired, but every time I talk to you, you're still speaking on that same thing. Are you really ready to get healed from it? But I just want no. So let's focus on if you're really ready, because you're keeping yourself stuck. You're keeping yourself in that same place by not acknowledging that you're really ready. Sometimes I really believe out of the abundance of the mouth, heart, the mouth speaks. So if our heart is not really in that open place to really receive that healing, then we need to stop saying, okay, I'm ready to change. Because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong for saying it like that, but you got to be open and stop hiding. And then when it comes up, you say, oh, I'm ready. But it's addictions. It could be to food. It could be to any little thing that kept us in that place from not reaching our goal. And I know for me, one of the things was accepting I can't help everybody.
Right.
And I really can't. And it's okay. That doesn't mean I'm not a good person. That doesn't mean I didn't at least try. Everybody's not going to like me. Everybody, and that's okay too. But that does not mean I'm a bad person. So, did anybody have any, like, not, I wouldn't even say a part of their journey where they felt like They were already at that place of healing, but something came back up, and it was almost like, oh, I'm really not really completely healed from that. Anybody
I
want to share?
I'll share something that I firstly think. I think like all of us are different. Our healing journeys are different. And even when we heal from something, like what I'm discovering is like new experiences, things that I quote unquote thought I healed, now like it resurfaces. It doesn't mean that I didn't heal it. It's like if you have a scar and it's healed and you run into something, like the scar is gonna hurt. So
Yeah.
personally, I think like when I think of like even my own journey, just recently I was in a conversation. It was with a guy. It was like a very passionate, heated conversation. And he said something that I knew had nothing really to do with this real moment, but it triggered me so much. Parts of me that I thought, oh yeah, like I'm over this. And I actually just had to pause. And then, now I'm in an interesting journey of my healing journey. Like, firstly, like I tell people, if you see me wigging out, going crazy, like don't be worried, right? I'm having an awakening. But I say that to say, so I actually kind of, after I got very reactive, like blah 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 blah. And so anyway, as I got reactive and I just caught myself, and I follow back up and I said, hey, I let him know, like, hey, when you did this is how it made me feel. And really, it's not really about you, because I know you wasn't trying to hurt my feelings, but my feelings are hurt. So I really think having grace for ourselves, this note when stuff come up, like this notion that we're totally healed, like one person, like we're so different. And I do think we can have a sense of, like I said, like that scar can be over it, but there are certain things that's gonna trigger us. Now I think we probably can all agree to this, is that as we heal more and more, we pull back those layers. We don't stay collapsed. We don't stay triggered. We can get back to a place of like power and being grounded. Something else I wanted to say, just to go back to earlier, because I think this is so important. First off, Lakiva, you was talking about different stages of healing, and I cannot overlook this. It's like part of the conversation we're having, like all of us have reached, some pretty amazing like spaces in terms of our healing journey. But like I'm going to go back, right? Like before a person, right, has the self-awareness and all these things that we're talking about, the reality is it's not, sometimes it can be people who love you, your parents, your best friend, your teacher. Like it could be anyone who you're supposed to be able to go to, but you don't know how, right?
Right.
Or maybe if you're broken enough, right, they might say something that actually doesn't help you, right? And so in those cases, I think that being willing to it's not like, it's not all, it's most, for most of us human beings, it doesn't matter. Like it is human nature to it's human nature to excuse me, something just flashed across the screen that distracted me, but it's human nature to want to protect like these tender parts, even if it's people we love that surround us, to have our back. And so in those cases, like I'll give myself like an example. I have been through phases where I was so broke. Like I have therapy. I got a mama who loved me. Hey, mommy. I have friends. I have like a powerful support system, like
Right.
powerful. And there have been times in my life where I felt so broken, so disconnected
Mhm.
from like the truth. I'm lovable. I'm this. Like I couldn't even access, oh, let me call a support system. So I think like it's important to acknowledge like that part. And so in those times, like I think sometimes just it's you're not gonna all like I tell my mom this all the time. Sometimes I don't always have the words, right? Sometimes I don't know if my mom's gonna have the right words, but I know when I'm in my mom's presence, I feel loved. I
Yeah.
feel safe. So I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
have the right words. And so I
Right.
think like yeah, like when we get to the point where we can verbalize, but sometimes we can be so broken. Like a person can just be so broken and or just not have the words. Sometimes it's not brokenness when you're a strong person. Here's a reality. All of us know this. When you are in leadership, the average person that you're leading cannot contain your collapse. And so
Mm.
you have to have a certain kind of demure, kind of, you got to be guarded because the average person can't contain it. They might listen to it, but they can't really contain it, right? You know, so in those cases, now what do you do? So my thing is, and when this is part of my journey, but even in workshops and stuff that I've been a part of or led, I say to women, like, no, sometimes we're just not going to speak up to nobody. That is a reality. And what about if we do need help? Maybe you just call a friend. I had a friend years ago, and I would say to him, hey, look, can you just breathe on the phone with me? Just breathe with me. And he said, okay, right? Or meet up with a friend for lunch. I might not never tell that friend what I'm going through because the friend's presence, the love, like getting out of my head. And so I just wanted to share this part is because I think, and I'm having to remind myself of this constantly. It's easy to forget when we're on the other side. But there are people, there are versions of us, like we go through things and hit something or hit a wound. You're like, oh, I thought I was
Yeah.
healed. But
Yeah.
then I'm really wanting to share this is because all of us are leaders in our lives, and there are times when a person will come to us and we don't actually know if sometimes, yeah, a person is not ready to be healed. But then sometimes like they actually might not just know how. What I'm having to learn
Mm.
is because y'all see, I love to talk. I'm having to learn like sometimes a person just needs my presence. One of my best friends told me one day, I was like, you got to be positive. You got to this. She said, I don't need that right now. Can you just be here? And I was like, oh, right. And I learned so much from her because she was constantly telling me what her needs are. And so I just wanted to share that is one to like our audiences, even us, like we're on different stages, but us, like we've come such a long way. And when we're connecting with people, like, yeah, sometimes like if sometimes a person isn't ready, but I think it's not always that they might not be ready for the words that we have, but all of
Mm.
us, nobody really wants to suffer.
Right.
So I
No.
just think there's something
Mhm.
about just presence, just some like
Mhm.
presence. And at the same time, like what I'm learning to do is like I have empathy and compassion, but if somebody keep calling me complaining about the same thing, it's not like it's if I feel like I can't deal with it, then like I'm gonna bow out, but they can still have it, but like I'm gonna still protect my energy because like I know that I can't help them. And in that way, they probably should go to therapy. And this is the last thing for real. I've learned like I need someone to hold me accountable and say what you're complaining about, what you're gonna do. But I also need somebody that I could just be a baby about and cry. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
discovered I need
Yeah.
both. So I think we've all been talking about is that self-awareness, knowing what you need. And I'm complete.
And getting
And
those
you know,
needs met. And
And
getting
getting the
those
met,
right,
needs
right.
met. Having the
right.
courage to say what you need. And
Yeah.
if your
Exactly,
friends say,
exactly.
listen, I just need you to be here.
Yep.
That's it.
Mm.
How
That's
many of
it.
us can't do that? How many of you really can't say what you need because you're afraid of
Mm.
what, how the person going to act, how they're going to think? We have to get beyond that and trust, like
That's
Vonda
the
said,
trust.
you have
That's
to
the
trust
trust.
yourself and say, listen,
That
Yeah.
I'm
part.
going to tell you what
Mm-hmm.
I need. And if you're the
Absolutely.
person, you will give it to me, right? Because this is what I
Absolutely.
whether it's
Absolutely.
whether it's verbal, whether it's in our
Mm-hmm.
behavior, we have to be strong enough to get to the point where we're able to articulate
Yep.
um, getting my needs met. I need to tell you what you're doing is wonderful, but it ain't working for me. That's not what I
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's good.
so I just wanted
We
to
have had so many nice comments, and I got so wrapped up into this conversation. I am so glad that people are, one Elaine Jackson, who Genesis has her middle name, is she said the ministry of presence is powerful.
Hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is, I mean, that is to me, that is mind blowing. I can relate to that because I'm so used to with Still I Rise and the other empowerment things I'm doing. I'm so used to like, you can do it, you can do this, and blah, 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 blah. One time my husband was like, I just need you to be quiet and just sit here and let me vent.
I'm like that too, Lakiva.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was like, good, because I'm tired of talking. But it was like one of those things where that was so profound. I remember in Vonda, I'm gonna tell our business. This is a safe space, right? It's
yeah.
to everybody on
Right.
on in Facebook world. But we had a birthday celebration for one of our dear friends, and she said, women, especially us women, and it is the truth, we over communicate sometimes. And we think that's what we need to do for everybody. But that's not it. I mean, I was like, when he told me, he said, I just need you to not, he said, I don't need you to be my wife. I don't need you to be my friend. I just need you to be right here in front of me.
That's it.
Uh, it's powerful.
That's it.
I
I
love what you
was like,
said. That,
okay, I like that. And
But
without
that's
even
that's
having to say anything.
yeah.
That
yeah,
That's that
that's a
trust. Man.
ministry.
And that
Yeah,
is
that's
yeah,
learning
power
how to
present.
shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's learning how
Really
to
powerful.
shift the atmosphere and learning how to shift the conversation.
Yeah.
I think somebody said, sometimes we might keep going back to the same thing over and over, but I think a part of the healing process is learning how to shift that the atmosphere, what you're feeling, learning how to shift the conversation. So now you're still talking about what happened that you're healing from, but now you can talk about it in a different context. Like, I
Hmm.
used to not be able to stand up for myself. I used to not be able to tell people what I needed because I
yeah,
always wanted to know what they want and what they needed. But now, when I have those thoughts similar to today, I can turn around and say, you know what? This is what I need. Let me get what I need. Because you can't give anybody anything until you fill yourself up. You
Absolutely.
cannot pour from an empty cup. That's one thing that I've learned in my journey. So just learning how to shift the atmosphere and turn those things, even those triggers, Shiva, even those triggers, turn those triggers into something else. Because that's how you continue on your journey of healing.
yeah. I turned it into I cry a lot and I journal and
I'm a water
like
bucket too.
I call myself like the emotional alchemist. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, and I love what you said, Vonda, about like saying to the person, like, like sharing, like, hey, like, I need this. And one of my
yeah.
biggest things, and this is, around like the feminine awakening and emotional well being, is what I'm discovering is exactly that. Well, one, it's sitting with myself long enough to know what do I need. And then now, I know I feel I should call you Yolanda, but mommy. Now, like, what you said, what did you say earlier? Oh, I don't know, it just flipped my mind. But about having the courage. And even just this morning, I was messaging back with a friend of mine, and he said, what do you need right now? What's going on with you? And I was like, it would be great to see you. And if I need to cry, I would love to be able to cry. Right now, we couldn't see each other, but for me, it was big just to say, like, it was also like, look here, we see each other and I cry. Like, don't you be trying to shut me down. Like, I need to cry. Right?
Right.
So I'm learning to, and I love that you said like change it into something. But part of my journey is learning to first like be with it, because
Hmm.
sometimes in the past, like I try to change it too fast
Too soon.
and I didn't
Yeah.
really get
Yeah.
what I needed. But that
Yeah.
alchemizing and changing it into something else, it is so important.
It is. I want to also add
Sure.
on. The question you had asked was about. I believe you said, "What does that look like?" Have you ever been healed and then maybe something came back up? I couldn't remember exactly the
Mhm.
question that you asked. But have you thought that you were healed and then you weren't? I think that was the
Mhm.
Hmm.
question.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay. So I wanted to kind of add on to something that Alicia said about the wounds. And I've had wounds before and didn't know that. I'm thinking, okay, I'm healed from this wound. until somebody hits it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was healed from that thing. Like, what happened? But I realized it was almost that mirroring effect. So I thought that I wasn't healed, even though I was. It's just something that mirrored what I had already went through before. And so I had to realize that just because it may seem similar, it's not the
Same.
same.
Yes. That's good. That's
Same.
good.
And so because of that, I had to, in going through therapy, it was about setting boundaries. I said, okay, this looks like what I've been through before, what I said I know I was healed from, but I had to set some boundaries. And when with setting the boundaries, I realized that if people are not willing to stay within my boundaries, that's okay if they do not want to ever be connected with me again. But I was afraid of setting boundaries because I wanted people to remain in my life that were not meant to remain in my life for long periods of
Exactly.
time. So a part of my healing journey and everything that I'm going through was like, okay, I have to realize that, hey, this is for me. This is a part of my story. This is a part of my journey. And if I allow people to continue to treat me however they want to without setting the boundary, I'm going to continuously keep opening up that
Mm-hmm.
wound.
Yeah,
If I don't set the boundary, it's going
that's
to
right.
keep opening up.
Hmm.
And people, I mean, I don't believe people do it. Well, everybody does this purposely, but there are some times where people want to get what they need
Mm,
from you. And it may not be the time, because if
right.
you're going through your process of your healing, then you have to stay within your boundaries as well.
Yep.
Just set
Yes,
it. And I love also the way when Alicia, when you said about letting people know what you need. A lot of times I don't really tell people what I need because I feel like, you know, I try to respect where they're at. And if I know that people have so much on their plate, I don't tell them, hey, I just need you in this moment. I may just, like you said, I may just call them, and then realizing that, hey, we needed each
Right.
other in that moment. It
Yeah.
Yeah,
wasn't just it
I love
wasn't just me.
that.
And at that time, we are able to
Yep.
help each
Yeah.
other through whatever we're going through and continue on this path. And by the time I get off that call, I'm feeling refreshed. I'm ready to go. We're both
Yep.
Hmm.
we've both gotten what we needed at that time. And so that way I didn't have to feel like, oh, I'm taking something from someone else. I didn't want to feel that
Yeah.
way. But in actuality,
Yeah.
we need each other. And that's really what
Yeah.
life is all about. It's just that's
Absolutely.
another thing what Vonda was talking about, the community. It goes back to that.
oh
We
God,
need each other.
yes. We're social
Yeah.
creatures,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you
That's
mentioned
right.
that we're
That's true.
social creatures. We need connection, and
Yeah.
Yes.
we need connection. So don't ever feel like, and you don't know. That's why you have to trust your gut, right? You have to trust your gut.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in your
Mm-hmm.
heart to reach out to somebody because of whatever you, and it's just there and it keeps being there. There's a reason you need to reach out, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
reach out.
Yeah.
And when it comes to boundaries with those people, you need to know what you value. What's important to me in all of my relationships, right?
Hmm.
What do
Hmm.
I value? What
Yeah.
do I
Hmm.
value? What is important to me? Because if you don't
Right.
know, you won't have any boundaries and you'll be
Absolutely.
you won't have any. You'll be going, you won't be able to say
Absolutely.
no. You'll always be
Yep.
worn out because you can't say what you need because you don't know what your value. So I and anyone, challenge you to think about what do I value in my
Yeah.
relationships, whether it's
Yeah.
family, a romantic, a platonic. What do I value? What is important to me in relationships? And then that's how you set your boundaries. And when you
Right.
That's right.
don't honor your boundaries, who are you dishonoring? Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Myself.
You
So
know, it's so
Mm-hmm.
funny that you said that,
Mhm.
Yolanda, because I'm just going to use tonight for a perfect example. And this may not be big to y'all, but this is big to big. Okay. But I just, and Alicia Bond knows, I just got a brand new laptop for grad school. Everybody know I'm in grad school. And I said, I'm not going to do anything with this new laptop but school. I'm not going to do my photography stuff in it. I'm not going to do anything. And guess what I tried to do tonight, y'all? try to do the podcast on the new laptop when I already have what I use for my podcast, for my photography, for my videos? And and God was like, see, you did exactly what you said you weren't going to do. So I'm going to show you better.
Yeah.
And
That's a good
It's
I
example.
called
used to get
being
mad at
human.
myself. That's called healing. I said, you know what? Okay. You try that mess again, okay? You already
Woo.
knew what I told you, and you did it
Yeah.
anyway. So you're trying to bring all that old stuff into the new.
Mhm.
Don't do that.
Mm.
We're
It's,
stubborn. We're just humans are stubborn.
Yeah.
We
we
can't
are
help
some
Yeah.
stuff.
it.
We are. We are.
Change your clothes. So when you go out, y'all know, everybody know I love fashion. Y'all know that. So I would never, and this is just something I do. When I buy a new outfit, I'm gonna buy me some new shoes. I will not that so I'm not gonna put a pair of old shoes with my new outfit. It's not new no more. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm no, but for real, that's how I was like. And
You
so
might
I
have some
with
of my
my
closet
own
that go
self
with it.
tonight. I
Yeah.
with my own self, but I didn't let it keep me there. I just
Right.
transitioned and said, okay, this
Mhm.
is what we're gonna do. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, I got a solution. The
Mhm.
keeper from 3 to 4 years ago would have been like, I'm not doing the show. This is a blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
but, and it's over.
True. True.
I
Yeah.
like to. I'm hearing resilience, right? When you do bump
Mhm.
that wound and it hurts,
Yeah.
the healing it gets shorter and shorter.
Shorter
Yeah.
and
Yep.
shorter.
That's
Yep.
building resilience.
Yep.
That's what resilience
Yeah.
is all about,
That's it.
right?
That's
You
You
it.
know what?
know, go ahead.
No,
Something that
that
just
so
two
I
things
y'all know I
really
got to
quick.
make it out of it.
Firstly, what I love is I think when we can bring humor to our healing journey, it's like I think it
Yeah.
makes it like I find myself like be talking to myself like, oh, here we go. And what I've been telling, there's a version of me that's like a know-it-all prude. And I used to try to just kind of keep it under wraps, especially with men. And now I'm just like, look, I'm a know-it-all and I'm a prude and I'm working on it, right? And what that
Number
does
two.
is
Right.
I'm
Step one.
like, look,
Own it. Own it.
right, like, and that's the way like I be
Step one.
responsible. Like I know there's healing, but I'm like, look, right now I ain't there yet. But
Claim to
it just
see.
allows me. But the other thing I wanted to share is something I thought truth, and I love that you mentioned this because and I didn't want to overstep this, is you said like you might not know what you need and you call the friend. I want to speak to something that sometimes it might not even be something deep, heavy that we're feeling, but Yolanda, you talked about this. You said like when you have that impulse to make the call, and I just wanted to acknowledge that because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's what you said, truth. We don't know how to ask, and then sometimes it might not even be anything that heavy. You
Mhm.
know, I think so many times we think I gotta wait, and this
Oh, what happened? I can't hear her. Can y'all hear her?
I can't
No.
hear.
We can't hear you, Leisha. Did you hit something? Wow, that's weird.
She probably hit something because she's still
Yes.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Look at your
It's a
control.
live show, everybody. So it's okay.
Yes. She may have hit something. Maybe go out and come in. Can you
Go
hear
back
us?
out and come back in.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's so weird, but to her point though, is it's one of those things where you got to sometime just really acknowledge, hey, from based on what I think she was trying to say is that okay, I can acknowledge this is where I was at that point in my life, and I'm no longer there. And this is how I feel about this particular situation. And I can acknowledge that I'm still growing there. And that's a good place to be when you
I
can
think
say, hey, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Yolanda. No, go
No,
ahead.
I think she was also saying too that it doesn't have to be such a deep feeling. It could be an impulse, right? You just keep these impulses
Mm-hmm.
to reach out, to connect. We are social creatures, right? We are interdependent upon each other. We
Yes.
really
Yep.
are.
Yes.
That's where our
Mhm.
healing comes from. There is tons and tons and tons and tons of research on what connection does to us from a
Mhm.
Yep.
psychological, emotional, physiological perspective. So we are social creatures, and people who don't have anybody, they die. They might die physically yet, but they die mentally, they die spiritually, they die
Mentally. Yep.
emotionally. We're emotional creatures. So if that impulse is there to connect, we may not know why. Oh, there you're back, Alicia. Can
Hi, Alicia.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
yes.
Yes, we
Loud
can
and
hear
clear.
you. Yes, we can hear
So you were saying sometimes it's an impulse, and does that
Right.
just
It's an
okay?
And I want to share something that happened to me recently. I was having um a sacred unraveling. It was beautiful. It was perfect. I was just allowing it. And I was in the car and I was at the park. And as I'm unraveling in the car, like I'm hitting the steering wheel, I'm just letting the anger, rage, just letting it move through me. And I open my eyes and I see these three women and I'm like, oh my God, like I need a hug. And I'm like, God, don't go up to these women. You don't know them. But I'm like, I need a hug. And my spirit's like, no. And then the spirit's like, you are meant to be a disruption. And I'm like, oh, so I'm like, okay. So I get out the car.
Mhm.
I walk up to the ladies. It's three of them. Um, would y'all mind if I had a hug and come sit with you all? Right. And they say, yeah. So I sit next to one of the women is two of the women are on a bench, like opposite one another. So there's space in between. One woman is standing up. So I'm just crying. These women don't want the woman that I'm sitting next to, she's like rubbing my back. God won't give you anything more than you can handle. Mind
Mhm.
you, they don't know me. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry that I'm doing this. I just need a hug. And I'm going to go see my mom. But right now I need a hug before I get to her. Like, just because I'm like, at this point, I'm just trying to get this healing.
Yeah.
And as I calm down, I say, what are you ladies here for? And her friend says, or no, the woman's hugging me. She says, I just lost my son.
Mm.
Wow.
And then her friend says, she needed that hug just as much.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yep.
powerful.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
That's
I got
good.
chills when
That
you
is
said that.
so
yeah,
good.
chills.
Oh,
I know,
that,
right?
oh my gosh, right?
Learning when it
Oh,
shifts.
That's why
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
power and the courage to get your needs
Yeah.
met and listen to what that inside voice, that intuition is
Mhm.
telling you.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not leading you astray, but we're too busy to pushing it aside. Is there for a
Mhm.
reason. When you are
Yes.
aligned with divine intelligence, it's like they gave me the beautiful example. You imagine the ocean as God, divine intelligence, the source, whatever, however you identify your higher power, right? If you go to the ocean and you scoop a cup of water out, is it still not the ocean?
Oh.
And that's
Hmm.
what we are. We are those little lights from a divine intelligence. We've got it. It's in us.
Mm.
We just have to tap into it. Learn
Yeah.
how to, and part of that is being still.
Mm-hmm.
Lakeisha, in the moment when your husband say "shut up," no, I'm just kidding.
Or
What do
he
you
said, "You
say?
gonna take my Amazon card?"
Not the Amazon car. He said, I'm be quiet. I'm listening.
And the other, it's important too to not let your ego. When somebody just say, "I just," you
Mhm.
doing everything you think a person needs, and they finally come back and say, "No, this is what I need." Don't
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
don't let your ego get in the way. And no, just
Yeah.
humble yourself and give and allow yourself to be what they need for themselves at that moment. And you do the same. It takes courage.
It
It does
does.
take courage. Even like Alicia, about the example that you gave was beautiful because sometimes going to strangers and being vulnerable with them,
Oof.
To me, sometimes it's even easier, I feel like,
It's
than
easier.
going to
Yeah.
people who you know,
Yeah.
because one, they don't know you at all. So it's like, hey,
There's
I
no
may not
judgment.
ever see you ever again in life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can be vulnerable and get what I need in that moment.
Yeah.
And I experience that all the time with even therapy. Like the first time
Ex-
when I met my
Yeah.
therapist, I was apologizing to her. I'm so sorry for crying, and she's like,
I'm a therapist.
That's what coaching
Yeah.
and therapy is. That third party. I don't know you from Adam. I'm not judging
Right.
you.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
like, why am I apologizing to her? But I was
Because you
apologizing.
anger.
I was like,
Or
I'm
you
so
go to the
sorry.
doctor and even the doctor, I'll be like,
They'll
oh,
get it.
I'm so sorry I came to see you today, but I'm hurt. That's what they're
Right.
there for.
And you
Yeah.
think
I
it.
do that a lot. And I'll
Interesting.
be like,
I
I'm
don't think
so
we can help
sorry.
it. I don't think we can
You
help
know
it.
what?
I love that you brought it up too. Y'all don't judge me. Don't judge me what I'm about to
No.
tell y'all. Don't judge me. So sometimes I be going to AI and I'll be telling it like, oh my God, I'm going through this and this and this and this, And then I will be apologizing. I'm like, oh, I mean, I know that this is a lot and this was ridiculous and you're an AI and you're not a person and no,
Wow.
no,
No.
I ain't
That
But
is
shame,
hey,
but
it's not that your AI learning you, and they'll
Yeah.
be
yeah.
able to
It is.
respond
right. But what I'm
accordingly.
just saying, like, it's so in us, I think, as women, especially, to just apologize for existing.
Oh God, we
And
Mhm.
do.
and the fact that I'm speaking to, my AI, and I'm like, well, okay, I know that was a great idea, but I don't really like that. I mean, I don't want to hurt your feelings though. So, but I just love what you shared, Truth, because it's the truth. Like, even when we're like, yeah, it is sometimes easier, to talk to strangers. And that day, I will say, I was desperate.
No,
I was desperate.
I am with you on that because I've done the same. I said, what I asked,
Yep.
yeah, what do you I asked GPT. I said, what do you think of me? And it was actually giving me some uplifting things. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like you're bright, you're this. I mean, everything was so positive. And
That's
it's
funny.
but it was all about it was really what I needed. But I realized
Mhm.
because I use it so much, whether it's in business or in
It's fun.
personal,
Yeah.
that it has that moment to get to know me. And
Yeah,
everything
Yep.
it
it's
was telling
learning
me,
you.
yeah,
Yep.
it
Hmm.
was learning me.
Yeah, it's bond.
Mhm.
It was telling me I'm a leader and you're
Yeah.
this and you're that. And it actually had me kind of step back, like, okay, I'm being hard on myself when
Right. You
Yeah. Right. Pop your collar. Right.
But you know what I also learned about
love
the little AI stuff? I
Mhm.
always make sure I put talk human to me.
mm,
Because
Mm.
sometimes I don't want to hear all the good. Let me know
mhm,
what the human like. Take
Mhm.
out the AI and let me
mm,
hear what I named it. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to, I named it Yolanda. I said, what would Yolanda say to me?
I love it. I
And
love
so
it.
that's just one of those things. Y'all, this has been so good. But
Yeah.
I don't even want to end it. We're going to have to do part two. Don't y'all agree?
Yeah.
yes,
We're going
absolutely.
to have to do part two because okay, I just made that disclosure. I'm almost a half 100. Truth, you in a different time zone. It's almost 9 o'clock. But this has been amazing.
Yes.
Even with all it has been so amazing, fun. And I'm gonna start with one final thought, and then we're gonna end the show. The replay is going to be edited, not too much because I'm not going to do the AI thing on it. But I want everybody to give one final thought, and then I'll close out the show. Starting with Yolanda's.
I would say being where I am and what I want to accomplish, what I do accomplish. Everybody can identify what a CEO is, right? And I want people to understand, my clients understand that you can be the CEO of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can be the chief executive officer because you are it, right? Everyone can relate to a CEO. So I ask you the question: who's on your board of directors?
Mm.
Mm.
Who
That's
gives
good.
you guidance, advice, support? Who's on your board of directors?
Oh, that's good. Vonda?
So I think for me, it's just, and kind of going back to the journey theme, continue on the journey. I know you always hear the term trust the process, but trust the journey. A process, I mean, it's good to have a process, to have it methodical and those types of things, but the journey can be so beautiful, even the gray parts, even the gray parts, even the in between parts. So trust the journey, allow yourself to once again regain that power to be able to go through the journey and then get to the end part where you're trusting yourself to just be you, authentically you.
Oh, that's good. Truth?
I want to say it goes back to finding you. I mean, I feel like that's a part of my story of healing. Just finding you. I think that everybody at some point in life has to know who you are and whose you are.
Mhm.
And along that journey, if you don't know who you are and whose you are, it's really going to be hard for you to continue on. You have to find out who you are internally so that way you can speak to not only yourself, speak to your healing, but also be able to speak to someone else. And I just encourage everybody, if you need help, reach out. It doesn't matter who that person is, whether it's a stranger, or a sister, a brother. Just know that somebody is there for you, and always know that you are not in this world alone. And that's all that I have to say. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Shiva?
Um, my thing is like become your own lover, like be in this like sacred dance and like discover like what enchants you about yourself, about your home, about relationships, and really just allow yourself to get to know these deeper sides of you, and allow yourself to like there's a healing process, and part of the healing
Mhm.
is actually like really allowing yourself to feel into the deeper desires of your heart, and then now go towards it, starting with like just thinking about like how you want to feel inside your body, inside of your home, inside of your relationship with your beauty, whatever, it's just really becoming your own lover, and just being in rendezvous, and like in that in relating to yourself, seeing yourself as like this in this sexy like rendezvous with yourself. I find that for me making my healing journey feel sexy and kind of fun, and I'm like, ooh, ow, ooh, that hurt, it just feels good. So that is my offer.
And I just want to thank all everybody that for joining the show tonight. Again, this is Bonafide Confessions, and the subject was let's talk about healing. This was a space that was created to honor truth, vulnerability, and the power of transformation. And tonight, I think we did that. Y'all think we did that?
We did. Ooh, yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
To the phenomenal panelists. That would be Vonda, Shiva, Miss Truth, and Yolanda. I thank you for your honesty, your heart, and your courage, because sometimes we have issues with technology. But your voices matter to me, and your stories got everybody listening. You saw that from the comments that were made. And I'm going to just say to everybody out there in Facebook land or YouTube or wherever this is going to be replayed, thank you for showing up for me. Again, I'm not going to cry on this thing tonight because this was big for me. Healing begins when we allow ourselves to be seen and heard. And I hope that our conversation tonight sparked something meaningful in everybody that was listening. I'm Ms.Bonafide, your host, reminding you to be bold, be real, and always speak from your heart. Until next time, stay true and keep healing. Good night.
Good
Good night,
night.
Good
everybody.
night.